YouTube, it's Jay Narissa back with another video. And in honor of September being Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, we are talking about mental health and how we can support one another, whether that be some general community that you're a part of, your friend groups, your family, how we can support each other to ensure that we are optimizing our mental health and ensuring that the people we care about feel supported so that they are not in a position where they are contemplating suicide. So, suicide is one of the leading causes of death, not only in the United States, but worldwide. And a lot of that is due to struggles with mental health, whether that be just situations that individuals are dealing with at the moment, or due to mental health illnesses that can be ongoing or chronic. Oftentimes, people begin to contemplate suicide when they feel like there is no other way out. A lot of times, they have feelings of hopelessness. They feel as though they are not worthy to continue living. Maybe they're in a situation where their life has taken a somewhat of a downward turn, where they're experiencing multiple losses, or they're in a transition period and they're unable to figure out positive ways to cope with that. And that can have a large toll on our mental health and well-being. So one of the main things that we can do when we see shifts in our loved ones' behaviors, or they seem to be a little bit down. Number one, let's backtrack a little bit, because I'm saying one thing that we can do when we notice those things. But one of the most important things about preventing suicide amongst our loved ones is to make sure that you're paying attention to how people are interacting with you, or if there's a lack of interaction where they're withdrawing and becoming more isolated. I think being aware of how someone typically behaves and navigates through life and seeing a shift could be an underlying way to see that something is going on with them. For example, if you have a friend who is typically really happy most of the time, they seem to have their things together, they check in, they're always optimistic about things, and then all of a sudden you're seeing a shift. You haven't talked to them in a while. They're not posting on social media as much as they usually do. They seem a little bit more withdrawn when you invite them to places. They're more likely to turn down invites and things of that nature. These all could be signs that something is going on with them mentally. I caution you to not just assume that because they are the strong friend and they're typically okay and they typically don't need a lot of support from you, or I guess like organized support. Maybe you talk about things, but you don't necessarily check in on what's actually going on in someone's life. Even those people who don't typically need that on a regular basis, it's always good to still have those check-ins and just make sure that things are going okay. That one reach out could be the difference between a catastrophic event and their life improving and getting better. So, step one is paying attention to your loved one's behaviors. Step two, making sure that you're reaching out on a regular basis, talking to them, checking in on them. If you see something going on and you're a little concerned, it is completely okay to explicitly ask someone if they are considering harming themselves or ending their life. And I want to give that distinction. I think I talked about it before in the mental health first aid overview video that I created. There is a distinction between whether someone wants to harm themselves versus whether they're thinking about ending their life, because there are people who engage in self-harm, like injuring themselves, such as cutting. I know a lot of people are more familiar with what cutting is. A lot of times they do that to focus their attention on the pain that they're experiencing in that moment versus having to deal with whatever emotional pain and trauma that they're dealing with. So it makes more sense to them mentally to be able to focus on the physical pain that they're experiencing and takes them out of their mindset, at least for a little while. So that's the self-harm component. And then there's the, are you thinking about ending your life, or do you feel like possibly do you not want to be here? That could be a gateway to starting to feel more hopeless and like you want to end your life yourself. If someone communicates that they are feeling hopeless, they have thought about ending their life, that is where you want to kick into gear and start to provide them with resources and more support. It is not enough, as much as I love God and I am every day strengthening my relationship with Him, it is not enough to simply tell someone that you are going to pray for them. This is a scenario where you pray and. So pray and give them the number to the Suicide Crisis Line. Pray and help them to make an appointment with a mental health professional. Pray and, if you have to, there are some situations where you might want to put them on what is called a psychiatric hold. So that puts them in professional hands where they can essentially have them on suicide watch and prevent them from being able to harm themselves or take their own lives, at least for a little while, help them to stabilize. For some people, that assist with getting them out of that mindset and they were just having a really low time in that moment, and they're able to regroup and see the benefits of continuing on. Prayer is really important. Prayer changes things, it helps, but you also want to put things into action. And with that, I mentioned the Suicide Crisis Line. So the US still, at least for the moment, has their Suicide Crisis Line, and it's really easy to remember the number. It is 988. So if you or someone that you know is feeling extremely down to the point where they're feeling hopeless and like there's no way that they can live and continue to go on, calling 988, those professionals will be able to assist with processing all of those thoughts and feelings and getting additional resources to ensure that you or your loved ones are able to stay here with us, because you matter, you're needed, and we would love for you to continue to be here. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to leave them down below. Like, comment, subscribe, turn on your post notifications, and until next time, stay healthy and stay well. Bye.